Namaste and welcome to Achievers and Changemakers, produced by Today's Youth Asia. In the TV show Achievers and Changemakers, we bring inspirational figures from around the world who have contributed to humanity. Today, we have the privilege of having with us Ms. Lesley Abdela, an international women's human rights campaigner and gender post-conflict specialist. With over 25 years of experience in the field, she's considered to be one of the leading experts in the field. She's also an award-winning journalist. To present the award, we have Dr. D. Aker, the Deputy Director of John B. Clark Institute for Peace and Justice.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dee. Just a great honor, and I really wasn't expecting it. Thank you very much. Well, as I was taken by surprise, I don't remember exactly what I said, but the gist of what I was saying was that I didn't feel it was me that should be getting an award, but I felt it was the Today's Youth Asia group with Santosh Shah and Mandira Wright, who I've watched over the last few years grow this group, and I would have been so impressed by it that I've used it as an example, not just in Britain, but to talking to groups around the world of people in the media and civil society groups of exactly the type of thing people should be doing. So I hope one day they get an award that they deserve as well. So I'm very honoured. Thank you. And I also think one of the points I made, and I feel very strongly about, is that the new generation coming up in Nepal, people in Youth Asia, and all the other young people are the future of this country, and amongst them particularly the women, the girls, because I know I've worked in many countries in conflict, and it's not that women are nicer or sweeter or decenter than men, but they are very, very highly motivated to the future, to building the future. And I think that the idea of the girls and boys working together, or men and women working together in partnership, is where the future of a country lies. And right now, when there's so many difficulties, I think the future of Nepal lies with the women leaders. I'd like to see a lot more women taking leadership role in groups in Nepal, because I know many of the women civil society leaders here. I was here for 6 months 2 years ago with the UN agencies, and I'm so impressed with the courage of women right across the political spectrum, and I think that they're also rather good organisers. I have a feeling that the roads might get repaired in Kathmandu and the medical services might get better out in the countryside, and more girls would get to school if there were more women in a position, not just in the parliament, but leading in the communities, leading in parliament, leading in the government. Right, without thinking, I would say a smile, actually. Strong, many of them, courageous, certainly, and having to cope with some very, very tough situations. But I think it's more than that. I think it's a very interesting transitional period here, because you have some fantastic traditions, but some traditions are not so fantastic. And when I think of Nepali women, when I'm away from Nepal and I can look back, some of the women that stick in my mind most are widows that I've met across the board. And I think that they are possibly the strongest people, but also the most badly amongst the most badly treated. And I was just shocked, and many of us in Britain and around the world have been shocked at this new law suggesting men should marry widows for money. If there is some money to give to the men, for goodness sake, give it to the widows. They know what to do with it. There's well-organised groups here of widows who are doing fantastic training and self-help. All they're lacking are resources and respect. So I think that's one group of women who I think of. I also think of the women civil society leaders when I'm away from here. And amongst them I go back to Mandira Wright, who's one of the leaders here with the others, young women in Youth Asia, but also the other women leading women's organisations, of whom I had the privilege to meet many, not just in Kathmandu. I travelled out to parts of Midwest, to Terai. I haven't been to the eastern Terai yet. So I think of those who are often taking up really tough issues of women who've experienced violence, women who are trying to get their children educated, and also trying to combat some of the practices around things like giving birth, like the Chowpadi practice, which I think is one of the traditions I hope does evolve or change, because I think it's a cruel tradition, a really cruel tradition, whereas many of your traditions are very attractive, fine, and very beautiful. The other thing I think about Nepali women are colours. I envy the way you all dress, and I started out in life actually wanting to be a painter, and so I'm very aware of colours. And when people ask me about Nepal, one of the things I say is, you just have to see, it doesn't matter, the poorest woman walking across a field, the colours, the sense of colour that they have is fantastic, or you have, all of you. I think the world's going through some really critically serious problems right now. I'm normally an optimist. I'm not feeling very optimistic at the moment. I think the issue of climate change, where we're seeing, I mean, even today when I'm about to travel, we're having weather in Britain that we don't often get, but I know from people in Ethiopia I was talking to on email yesterday that their weather is having very damaging effect on crops year to year to year, not just one-offs. So climate change, the economic collapse, certainly in the developing world, certainly in the developed world actually, are suffering more on that. Conflicts still, I mean, 50% of all conflicts roughly start again within 10 years. So I think if we're going to have a chance of solving those problems, we need to pull on all the talent, not just half the talent, and that means women. And not just pull on women as, you know, oh, we'll put a few women there in that position, but women, not just women coming forward and having to elbow their way in, but a general acceptance that we can't solve the problems of the world unless there is real equal partnership of women and men. And I think that does come down. It starts off with girls' education, not just academic, but the type of things that Youth Asia does. You asked me about my memories of, or how I see women. One of the things that stayed was Youth Asia came to me when I was working here and said, would I come and give a talk to a group of youth on a Saturday morning? And I said, fine. It's my day off, so therefore I could do what I wanted on that day, so I said yes. Now, I had assumed they were all about 18 or 19 and upwards in age. And I walked into this room in Kathmandu, and there were about 70, 75 kids, if I could call them that, 13 years old and upwards. And I was terrified. You know, I've been in Iraq on the ground and with guns firing and things like that, but I think the most frightening experience of my life was walking into that room, because I've never worked with or interacted much with youngsters as young as that before in groups. I mean, I have one child of my own, but that was different. And within minutes, I was blown away by these youngsters. They were from right across different castes, different backgrounds, different schools, different ages, different religions, as far as I know, I don't know. And the questions they asked were so fresh and thoughtful in terms of really concerned. But I thought, well, if this is the future of Nepal, Nepal has a very good future. So yes, that's one of the things that impressed, that I always remember. Well, I'd like to actually go back to Dee Akers, who presented me this award on behalf of Youth Asia, because you asked me about the world, and there are a few women like Dee around the world who are doing a huge amount of good. People, they're famous amongst people like me who know about her and admire her, but they're not as famous as they should be for the work they do. And wherever there's conflict, Dee spends her life building peace, trying to build peace, not in an airy-fairy way, but very practical. And so I would like to say that I can't think of anybody I would be more honoured to have received this award from than Dee Akers, and to commend the work she does at the Institute of Peace and Justice at the University of San Diego, because I did have the honour and the pleasure to go over there a few years ago. And I have to say, they've got some jolly nice premises there. But the work they do, they're not playing, they're serious. and it's clever, and it's intelligent, and it's long-term, and I wish just there were more people like Dieka, and the women of Nepal, and the girls of Nepal, and maybe some of the young men too. As I've travelled around the world, I've noticed that particularly men never mind being given a computer and a mobile phone and using them, and yet their parents or their grandparents didn't. And actually most women too are very happy to have a computer, mobile phone. But as soon as somebody raises the issue of women's rights and women being treated as equal partners, a lot of people then say, oh, but that's not part of our tradition. But nobody seems to grumble about changing tradition and using computers, driving cars, mobile phones. So I think sometimes people say things are tradition and can't be changed, and yet traditions adapt. The sort of societies that succeed are dynamic societies where they are adapting to change, keeping the best of the cultures, but adapting. And I think that's important. And it was brought home to me, actually yesterday, I sat in on a workshop. I'm here this time on a visit, which has been organized by the International Center for Journalists, an American organization, and in conjunction with the UN Alliance of Civilizations and Common Ground. And it's to do with training media, which is very appropriate because, of course, Youth Asia is focused on young people learning about media. And I realized the vocabulary is changing so interestingly. And there are new words we're all having to learn, things like, and I've written them down to teach myself, shovelware and convergence websites and news aggregators and hyperlocal blogs. Now, a hyperlocal blog is actually probably very useful, and some people do it using TYA, where it's a very localized blog for your district. So you could talk about, the floods or whatever's happening locally, and people plug into it. But I think it typifies that the language is changing. Traditions are changing, and if you fight against it anywhere, you're going to ossify and get left behind. And yet, at the same time, it's terribly important to keep the things that you really are good cultural aspects. The friendliness, the courtesy of Nepal, the warmth, the hospitality. All those are fantastic.
What an honor to be given the opportunity to present Lesley Abdela with the Today's Youth Asia Excellence Achievers Award. Of all the people that I've met working worldwide, and we've met in different situations in different countries, I've seen what you do on the ground, I've seen what she does on the ground, and I think that this is a statement to what's best in people and what can be done when we think globally but act locally. Around the world, women are the leaders in terms of building peace on the ground, worldwide, without a doubt. And we've had a chance to explore that together. And it's that magic that women have to be able to overcome opposing viewpoints, parties, issues, not to be drawn into being only what they've been taught to be, but somehow seeing that possibility of what more they can be. And your work, Lesley's work, has been that kind that models the best of what we can be. I mean, she once worked in advertising and transformed herself into this global person who actually works on the ground, inspiring, collecting stories. She both documents and gives people opportunities, and that's a tremendous difference. Her leadership internationally is with international organizations that can have the power, the impact, and need to be guided, or they get lost in what they're supposed to be doing. She remembers what the UN resolutions are that really speak out about how women should be in peace negotiations, how they should be supported in their work to get the laws that will give them their rights in local governments, in national governments. She's also the kind of person who encourages, just by her presence sometimes, that magic spark, especially for young people. Now, Lesley and I are of a generation that really is looking to see something happen among the younger people of the world. And the model that's being given by this presentation today, this is an organization, Today's Youth Asia, that looks and models and creates the best of what can come, but doesn't throw away the older generations who have been trying in our own way to do this. And so It is such an honor to recognize you on behalf of young people, and I know that you inspire and create and make possible so much more in the world. In the world, there seems to be this pulling apart of people re-identifying with something small in themselves, not about what's big in themselves, not about their connection to humanity, not what we have in common, but what makes us somehow distinct, and then we get so defensive about it. And I think that Lesley and today's Youth Asia and this award today symbolize that we have to go back to our true humanity and what's the best in all of us.
In today's episode, we are featuring Mr. Zulfikar Maharjan. He is the founder-president of Heartbeat, a national NGO. He is also the country coordinator for Nepal Asian Network for Youth Volunteers for Nepal and core member of Activism Nepal. He holds a bachelor degree in Fine Arts from Tribhuvan University, Institute of Fine Arts, Lalit Kala Campus, Kathmandu.
टी फर फ्री थालेको चाहिँ 7 महिना भयो। आज चाहिँ 7 महिना कम्प्लिट भयो हैन। टी फर फ्रीको चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ मान्छेहरुको लाइफहरुलाई चाहिँ ट्रान्सफर्म गर्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ एउटा चिया खुवाएर चाहिँ मान्छेहरुको जीवनलाई चाहिँ कसरी परिवर्तन गर्न, सडकमा भएको युवाहरु, सडकमा भएको बालबालिकाहरुलाई चाहिँ कसरी जीवनमा परिवर्तन गर्न सकिन्छ। चियासँगै हामी चाहिँ उनीहरुसँग गफ गर्छौं। दे आर नट डर्टी, दे आर द ब्युटी अफ द सिटी। हामीले फोर गरेको फोरहरु उनीहरुले कलेक्ट गरेर चाहिँ उनीहरुले एउटा बेचेर चाहिँ आफ्नो जीवन चाहिँ निर्वाह गरेर, सो उनीहरु चाहिँ एउटा सिटीको एउटा ब्युटी पनि हो। उनीहरु चाहिँ एउटा यो ती युवाहरु यो देशको लागि एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण युवा हो। आफैले गर्नु पर्यो हैन। केही कुराहरु गर्न नसके पनि सहयोग गर्ने। नेपाल हामी चाहिँ बानी चाहिँ कसै खुट्टा तान्ने बानी भयो, प्रविधि भएर चाहिँ हामीसँग चाहिँ गाह्रो हुन्छ के। चिया खुवाएर पनि जीवन परिवर्तन हुन सक्छ र भनेर धेरै मान्छेले यस्तो यो कन्टिन्यू हुँदैन भनेर चाहिँ धेरै कुराहरु गरे। तर पनि हामीले चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ विभिन्न रूपमा चाहिँ हामीले गर्यौं। अब धेरै समस्याहरु छन् हैन। यसलाई चाहिँ कस्तो भने यो चाहिँ अब धेरै टाइमहरु दिनुपर्ने एउटा म्यान पावरको अभावहरु हैन। सबै युवाहरु स्वयंसेवक सबै कुरा यो कुरा चाहिँ म यो सडक बालबालिकासँग चाहिँ म नै जिन्दगीभर मैले गर्न सक्दिन। म जस्ता हजारौं मान्छेहरु, सयौं मान्छेहरु आउनु पर्यो के। एउटा भाइलाई चाहिँ हामीले अब परिवर्तन गर्नलाई कोसिस गर्यौं।
सडकमा चाहिँ म 4 वर्षको उमेरमा आएको हैन। यस सडकमा आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ म भर्खर दुध खाँदै थियो। त्यसै एकजना साथीसँग लागेर आयो हैन। आएर म एउटा हनुमान ढोका भन्ने ठाउँमा आएर बस्न थाल्यो। बस्दैपछि मैले 3-4 दिनमा त कतिपय दिनहरू खाना नखाइकन बिताएँ। तनुबाट चाहिँ मलाई काठमाडौँ जान एकदम रहर लाग्थ्यो कि। एउटा सपना थियो मेरो काठमाडौँ आउने। अनि जताततै बिजुली र झिलिमिली देखेँ र म यस काठमाडौँ सहरमै रमाउन थालेँ। 3-4 वर्षदेखि म मङ्गलमा बसिरहेको थिएँ। जो सर भन्ने एकजना आउनुभयो। मेरो मनको इच्छा पनि पूरा हुँदो रहेछ कि हामीले सोचेको चाहिँ पूरा हुन्न जस्तो लाग्थ्यो हैन मलाई। तर अहिले लाग्छ कि मेरो मनको इच्छा पूरा हुँदो रहेछ। हामीले पनि केही गर्न सक्दो रहेछ। हाम्रो पनि कोही रहेछ आफ्नो जस्तो लाग्यो। मायाले नै पुऱ्याउँछ हामीलाई खुसी भनेको हामीले सडकमा कसैको नि माया पाएको हुँदैन के ताकि हामीले चाहिँ अर्कालाई माया दिन खोजेको हुन्छ तर हामीलाई माया गर्ने कोही पनि हुँदैन के शिवानी मिससँग इङ्ग्लिस पढ्छु दिनभरि त्यही पढेरै मैले दिनभरि काटिरहेको छु अहिले बिस्तारै भविष्यमा चाहिँ मेरो सपना भनेको त्यही गाइड बनेर इङ्ग्लिस सिकेर यस नेपालमै बस्ने
सुरुमा चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ एउटा बालबालिकालाई सुरु गरेको अहिले चाहिँ हामीले विशेष चाहिँ युवाहरूलाई चाहिँ लाइक यसमा टार्गेट गरेका छौँ स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिभिटिज म्युजिक यसो काउन्सिलिङहरू होइन आर्ट थेरापीहरू हामीले विभिन्न के 8-10वटा एक्टिभिटिज गर्छौँ मान्छेको जीवन एउटा चिया दैनिकी चियादेखि सुरु हुन्छ भने उनीहरूको दैनिकी पनि चियादेखि नै सुरु हुन्छ क्या यो पनि एउटा सपनाको खेती हो I feel proud so much as being youth, as contribute for society. I am very grateful to have this award, to know more people, but to motivate more youth as being a change maker as for the societies. I have been already working with children, youth since 15 years. After 10 years, I will be supporting more thousands of children for their food, health and education. Like now, what I am doing for the street children, youth, kids, like sometimes in the prison. So I will be contributing more children. Like children are the future for the nation. So we need to save these children. So I will be involving more thousands of children in last 10 years like this to speak for their voices around the nation and globally. As being an artist and my family is also like community worker and they involved for more than 40 years for the community. So like my father is also community worker and that gene transferred me to work in the local community. When I was 15, so I started as a community workers in like local community, different health, like mobilizing this youth, involving. So it was that's why I am continue. So my father cannot continue national level or something like that. So he has been contributing for local level. So I want to contribute something like national and international level. So youth are change maker, youth are not troublemaker. People like society thinks that youth are troublemaker. And per day, like more than 1,000 youth is going abroad to see, to get earning. But here is a lot of possibilities. We can do learning and earning in Nepal. So if you go abroad, you can come here, contribute your soil, because your mother soil is waiting for you, for the country to do something, because you have grown here. So that I say that those youth were to come back in one place and work for the development. If you also cannot do something for the country also, let's support them who are doing for the country in Nepal. So.
With this, we have come to the end of today's show. We look forward for your feedback. Our email address is youthtya@gmail.com. Thank you for watching us. We hope to see you next week at the same time. Namaste.